Even demons have people they consider too dangerous to be on the outside world. I mean, it's not that surprising. After all, we did see the the Indura, which is even despised even by the great demons of them all, because, well, they are beings of destruction. But now, this, on the other hand, is actually more, what do you call it, surprising. Turns out that Merlin's words all those chapters ago actually weren't false. We have been misunderstanding everything from the very beginning. And I said I never understood Gowther's character, and even now I don't. But for the first time, we may finally get a clue on who Gowther really is. Because the Gowther we have seen, the feminine looking, weird, thin doll demon, is actually not the real Gowther. The real Gowther is a seemingly middle-aged man that, appropriately enough, is in a wheelchair. Why am I saying that is appropriate enough? Well, I don't know. He just gives off the wise man aura. I didn't even know demons could be in a wheelchair. He has apparently been in that prison for 500 years. And yes, I am talking about Nanatsu no Taizai chapter 211, and I am the angry and offended display reviewer. Now onwards to the chapter itself. The Gowther doll explains to them that he doesn't really understand the words made by Gowther and Dolor and Gloxnia, which is King and Diana. But it turns out that as King and Diana sense that the battle, which is full of hatred and despair, is raging on, King can feel Gerhard crying out to his so-called brother. No, not his so-called, her so-called brother. But Gowther prevents them from leaving, not because he wants them to stop everything. It's because apparently this Gowther wanted the gate to open, and so King actually acknowledges to Diana that Gowther is the reason why Diana lost her memories. And of course, Gowther doesn't exactly understand what is happening, especially since they have met them for the first time. So strangely enough, King and Diana actually confesses that they are not the fairy king and the giant king. I have to say, well, it is a little bit weird to confess that, but Gowther, well, he looks surprised, but he doesn't actually seems to be that surprised, because he says it's a fascinating story and he wants to hear it another time. And so, at long last, Marashkaila seems to have made it complete. However, it is not the gate she was meant to do. Turns out that there are many different gates to the demon world. One to the demon world where apparently the demon king resides, and where everybody of the demons came from. The other, a demon prison. A prison full of chains and still tortured mouths. And apparently Marashkala created that unconsciously, because the Gowther doll did that. As Marashkala has a villainous breakdown, let me tell you, that is just so gross. She sometimes have a very cute face, but when she gets mad, we see her true demon-like form. Because she, literally opens her mouth just like a lizard does and shows a lizard-like teeth. That is actually so disgusting, strangely enough. Despite having that very sexy leotard and that cute body, when she does that, I don't know what it is. It's just so disturbing. And so, as I said in the beginning, from outside this gate, an older looking man, well, not that old, but at least older than Gowther, rolls out of the prison gate because he used this opportunity to manipulate Marashkaila through the doll when they were gonna rescue the hostages. all for the sake of obtaining freedom. And he did, and he even stops Marashkaila from doing anything by literally, well, not shutting off her mind, but just stops her with one hand on her face, and apparently saying that if they yell too much, the Demon King will find out. And so he rolls out, the man in the wheelchair, the man who is known as the true Gowther. And he has apparently been in prison for 500 years. Means that this is an old demon. And it turns out that the reason why King didn't know this was the real Gowther is because the doll Gowther is actually talking through the real Gowther, or more likely to say, everything the real Gowther says, the doll Gowther has translated. So, in other words, this is the scientist that Marilyn talked about all those chapters ago. The scientist who created Gowther as a doll. He created this Gowther doll in order to have an avatar on the outside in hopes of one day obtaining freedom of his own. He could talk through the doll, but not manipulate the doll's actions, but he could not do anything other than that. And he appears to be, I don't know exactly know, twisted, but he is just as mysterious as the doll Gowther. Mostly because once he gets outside, he can feel the violent bloom of emotions. He describes them: anger, grief, fear, pain. All four of these emotions. Is that felt within all the other clans? Because for him, emotions are proof that one are alive. An explosion of work of art. So yeah, this seems to be a pretty theatrical guy. But this real Gowther had no interest in the Holy War. For him it didn't matter if the Demon Clan were wiped out, the Goddess Clan were wiped out, or anyone else were wiped out. He couldn't care less about it. He did not have any interest in it. And strangely enough, it's just simply because, well, it isn't because of that, but he actually believes, he criticized Marashkaila as a blind believer, which is actually true. Her desire was to revive the Demon King after all. But this means that Gowther is actually a demon who do not follow the Demon King. He simply wants freedom. It's not exactly known if that freedom can be counted as good. So yeah, this is just... he is just as confusing as the doll Gowther, because all those centuries ago he was the one who was bested upon the commandment, the selflessness, and for 500 years his freedom was stolen from him. So he created this puppet Gowther in order to have some way be able to contact the outside world. But apparently, now that he is free, that too had reached its limit, so he must say farewell to this world. As the doll Gowther just smiles, this chapter ends with enormous amount of confusion, but a promise that we all have desired a very long time ago. It's been a very, very long while, and for a moment I thought we will never actually get these stories again, but here it finally is. Next story is not a next chapter. No, it is the next side story, the next Gaiden. The puppet asks for love. Now we're gonna see the truth behind Gowther's sin, perhaps even the truth on why the real Gowther was imprisoned, and why the Gowther puppet existed. All in all, a pretty solid chapter, but extremely confusing. But that was the point of it. If we take these actions to behold, what does the puppet Gowther actually meant 3,000 years ago? Could it be that he is not connected to the real Gowther anymore, and that is why he actually craves the heart. The and that's what the real Gowther meant. That has reached his limits. And since it's obvious that the real Gowther meant that he has been talking through the puppet Gowther all this time, then that means every single action that the puppet Gowther have made has been by the actual Gowther, which meant that probably that 3,000 years ago the Gowther we see then is actually just what he has always been saying he is, an emotion, an emotional, no, an unemotional puppet, because his actions are his own, because no one no longer controls him, right? That still doesn't explain though what the actual Gowther means by the selflessness and why he is in prison, because it turns out that even the Demon King imprisoned him. Could it be that the actual Gowther never wanted that commandment? Because when you have a commandment, you're no longer free. But the Demon King said only death and killing the commandment that actually had it could free them from this. So yeah, either way, finally we may look in some insights on the puppet Gowther. I'm wonder though how many chapters. After all, we cannot forget that Diana's side story was 2 chapters. So give me your thoughts if you have any.